Welcome to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023. I'm getting really good at that.
Yeah.
I don't practice it.
Really?
Yeah, that's a little brag, a little humble brag. I'm just
natural.
so good. I want a compilation of all of them put together to see how different they are, because I feel like they're not.
That would be a great compilation.
Or if they're just overlaid.
Yeah.
So you hear all of them at once.
You want the Billy Mays video where it's every single infomercial he's done where it says, "Hi, Billy Mays here" in unison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want that.
Yeah. We'll get there. That's the new goal. Someday.
The movie that we're talking about today. I should practice that in the mirror. The movie that we're talking about today is Inside. That's right, Bo Burnham's Inside. No, it's the Willem Dafoe 2023 movie.
That was a little joke, a little jest.
Oh, jest.
Yeah.
You good, Bryce?
Do you hear the booming outside?
I heard a booming.
Yeah,
outside.
we're gonna ignore the boom that we heard outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Also, hello. I am here.
Bryce is here.
here.
He's back. He wasn't in the last episode because we talked about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you didn't want that spoiled, and that is reasonable.
I never watched anything of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I had all the toys.
Fake fan.
Well,
Dedicated fake fan.
Exactly.
It might be a good movie for you.
Yeah.
And then you can check the podcast episode to see how I felt about it.
And I'll be surprised. I'll be those are some hot takes. I had the car, like the truck
The
that
van?
didn't fit all of them.
Yeah.
And you had to put a can of silly string in it,
Uh-huh.
and it squirted.
Uh-huh.
I never put a can of silly string in it because I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. Do you know that squirting is mostly pee?
When turtles do it?
I mean, probably.
Yeah, probably. Why did we start this podcast?
To talk about squirting.
That now marks 2 podcasts where I make the turtle having sex noise.
We're going for 3.
Again, I want another compilation.
Another compilation of me going,
Yep, there's another one. We started this podcast because 2023 is a weird year for movies.
how?
So many reasons. I'm so glad you've asked. We don't practice this. Strikes happened. Number 1. Oof. Number 2. Weird movies already came out. We started the year off strong with Cocaine Bear, and then
65.
And then we got a little goofy in the mainstream movies too with Barbie.
Yeah.
And then
Goofy doesn't mean bad, by the way.
No, it's just like it just makes you go, huh.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a bit of a slump of like new IP in general, and like doing a lot of remakes and sequels and stuff. And this year was like, no, what if Barbie had a movie?
What if we come back and
Yeah.
do
What if Tetris had a movie?
Cocaine Bear?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like so much has come out this year, and it's just wild.
Yeah.
So we talk about them one at a time. So we will do this until forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will last until we die.
So many came out that I forgot that they were doing a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
We still got one more in the chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
I've seen that trailer so many times.
And Aquaman.
And Aquaman.
Aquaman 2 is finally coming out this year, supposedly.
It's this okay.
December.
It's December.
Forgot that was happening.
Yeah.
And I think
There
most people did.
I'm going back to the spreadsheet. I feel like there are an interesting number of movies that are coming out in December. The Bike Riders. We haven't talked about that.
That filmed here in Cincinnati.
Yeah, that's a Austin Butler,
Tom Hardy.
Jodie Comer.
Sure.
Yeah,
Michael Shannon's also in it.
great. Yeah, Leave the World Behind. I don't know that one. Poor Things. I've seen a lot about. That's Emma Stone.
Oh yeah, it's a weird movie.
Yeah, that's a weird art house movie.
That trailer reminded me of the movie Mirror Mask, which most people haven't seen.
I haven't. And then unfortunately, Wonka. among other things.
Wonka.
The Ferrari movie also happening. So we started the year with Adam Driver, and we will end the year with Adam Driver.
The last movie we ever do for this podcast should be an Adam Driver movie.
It's just 65 again.
Yeah.
Because I feel valid in asking this question with this lineup. Is Ferrari a documentary?
No.
No.
Is
It's
it?
about the man Ferrari.
It's a biopic.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was something like Barbie.
No, it's
Where the car was alive.
it's like
I don't
You're
know.
thinking of Herbie?
you're thinking of Car from Cars.
There we go.
Car
There we
from
go.
Cars.
Yeah, my
Well,
favorite character.
I don't know, because like if you could name a biopic about the lady who made Barbie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could have been.
Mm-hmm. No, Ferrari is like a the takes itself seriously kind of biopic that we've seen recently. There's also Maestro. That's also a biopic.
Maestro, there's the Bob Marley, right? No.
Yeah, Bob Marley is
Right?
next year.
No, that's next year. Okay. I thought that was this year.
But the Bob Ross spoof also came out this year.
Spoof.
We're
Spoof.
it's 8:40 and we're going strong.
This is our second podcast today.
Yeah. I feel like there's another. I mean, I guess you could count like Tetris, Blackberry that came out this year.
Yep. It's George Foreman. It's a biopic
George Foreman.
kind of year.
Yeah.
But today we're here to talk about the movie Inside, which was another kind of weird art house film for a different reason that the Poor Things movie was gonna be.
Yeah.
Synopsis of Inside is: a high-end art thief becomes trapped inside a luxury, high-tech penthouse in New York's Times Square after his heist doesn't go as planned. Locked inside with nothing but priceless works of art, he must use all of his cunning and invention to survive. Now, for our video viewers, you might see between us, we have a little display. Sometimes we like it to kind of correlate with what's happening. Sometimes it's just camera lenses or movies just to be like, hey, it's a movie podcast. But today we have some flowers and a cornucopia. Bryce, do you want to go ahead and explain to us why you chose flowers and a cornucopia?
As our set designer.
Listen.
So our audio viewers, Bryce's movie?
Listen.
Uh-huh.
Look at this.
Okay, so Bryce is showing the cornucopia to the camera.
I'm putting them inside.
Wow.
See?
We really make you think at this podcast.
Yeah.
For our audio viewers, he put the cornucopia around one of the cameras. For our video viewers, I'm sorry.
I put you inside. That's comedy.
So today we're talking about Inside.
What were your first impressions when you heard about this movie?
First impressions was Willem Dafoe. I like him. That should be interesting. Second was, why did they name it Inside? Bo Burnham's Inside was like pretty successful and big.
Yeah.
I know that this was a German filmmaker, but I don't know.
Every time I had to look up something about this movie, I had to specify inside parentheses 2023.
Yeah. Like I feel like it stuck,
Yeah.
trapped, not outside.
Art.
Whatever the German word for inside is.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Why inside? It felt, I don't know.
I thought this movie was gonna be, I mean, it came out earlier in this year, or like,
Yes.
came out in March or something.
Yeah.
And so it was one of the first ones where I was like, oh, okay, there's good stuff too.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
There's stuff that takes itself seriously that's coming out this year too. Boy, does this movie take itself seriously.
It sure does.
Yeah.
But for now, let's talk about that trailer.
Okay.
Because we always talk about the trailer.
Always.
For a few reasons. I'm getting really emotional. Why are we talking about the trailer?
Because we can't show it legally.
Yeah, can't show it legally. We think maybe if you haven't seen this, maybe this description might get you into it. And also, trailers in movies are often different. The thing that the trailer portrays is not what the movie is.
Yeah.
And so we like to talk about that if it ever comes up. A lot of the times it doesn't, but sometimes it does. So today our trailer, it starts with us hearing a helicopter as we see a shot of New York City flying through the skyscrapers. There's chatter over a comm line coordinating movements. We hear number 1, go, coupled with shots inside a luxury apartment. Willem Dafoe hurries inside looking around the space as a voice tells him, okay, you got 7 minutes, stay focused, the art in here is worth millions. There are some quick shots of Willem Dafoe walking around looking at art, finding the specific pieces he's after and putting them in bags. The voice says proceed to step 2, while we get a quick look at a family portrait of the owner of the apartment and a close-up of Willem Dafoe grabbing a small statue. The screen cuts to black. There's now an alarm blaring with flashing lights and a confused Willem Dafoe asking, "What's happening?" That's what Willem Dafoe sounds like. As he yells over the comms for a response, we see him running towards a glass security door that shuts closed, and we hear him say, "It won't open." And the voice over comms responds, "Sorry, man, you're on your own." There's a long close-up of a fish in an aquarium before cutting to Willem Dafoe's sweaty face. The title card pops up reading, "This March," before being quickly replaced by a hand sliding up glass and Willem Dafoe testing to see if a phone is working. We see him slapping windows to test their strength and turning a faucet on and off, finding out the water doesn't work. He says, "Come in, number 3, over his walkie-talkie while stabbing the wooden front door, trying to carve his way outside. There's a close-up of sweat going down his back before showing the glitchy thermostat displaying 90 degrees Fahrenheit. There are other quick shots of Dafoe before we see him laying down with the night sky behind him, still talking into the walkie-talkie to number 3. There's a shot of a woman on a security camera, Dafoe looking interested in something off screen, and then we see him opening the fridge. More quick shots of him licking the ice out of the freezer walls with the thermostat now at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We see him looking at a screen displaying security camera feeds, the same woman from earlier, and then Dafoe trying to push a piece of paper under the door and screaming for help. We see the woman on the security camera just outside the door, and Dafoe is screaming from inside.
Just like the movie title.
There's a title card of Willem Dafoe's name before cutting to another close-up of his face, and he raises a large vase over his head. He smashes it, and then there are shots of him moving furniture around and making a structure trying to reach the apartment skylight. We hear him say, "Go to Tompkins Square Park, look for a guy named Danny Z, do that for me," over images of Dafoe trying to break out any way possible and speaking to a pigeon outside the window. He says, "Tell him I'm stuck here." Sounds just like Willem Dafoe, doesn't it?
It's like he's in the room with us.
As we see him looking at the fish in the aquarium, seeing a fish struggling to breathe out of water, and then Dafoe eats the fish. Things keep cutting quickly as we see him now drawing on walls and just generally looking pretty intense. There's another shot of him speaking to the bird outside and saying, "Nobody here but us pigeons." We see him drawing a large spiral/eye shape on the wall, and the thermostat now says 106 degrees Fahrenheit. It cuts to black again, fitting up to another close-up of Dafoe's face as he says, "I feel ya, brother. I'm gonna set you free." And we see he's speaking to a canvas of a man taped to a wall, with Dafoe now knocking it down. The music gets more intense. There are more drawings. The pigeon outside is also trapped, and Dafoe says, "When I was a kid, my teacher asked what I would say from my house if it were on fire." And then a shot of a girl outside the window with a large dog in the snow. Dafoe's arms are raised, almost worshipping his now more detailed spiral drawing, and then he's holding a torch on fire in the kitchen. Other quick art shots before we see Dafoe falling from his structure out of focus, and he keeps talking, and he says, "I answered a sketchbook, an AC/DC album, and my cat Groucho." AC/DC album, and my cat Groucho. There are lots of quick shots, including fireworks behind Dafoe, the woman from the security camera looking at him, and spitting on his spiral drawing. There's a shot from above of Dafoe rocking in a chair while the narration continues. "I didn't mention my parents or my sister." As the screen, I don't know, that turned into a weird, like, Liam Neeson type of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't mention my parents or my sister as the screen fades to black again. Dafoe is now walking in a small hallway with a green light asking, "Does that make me a bad person?" Before another shot of a piece of art, and then Dafoe recoiling from something and screaming. We see many quick, chaotic shots of Dafoe basically losing his mind while the narration says, "Cats die, music fades, but art is for keeps." It ends on a shot of him in profile wrapped in a blanket and standing in front of the fish tank before cutting to the title card, "Inside."
That was a very good Willem Dafoe. I'm glad you committed to it through the entire thing.
You gotta commit to the bit.
Yeah. This is a tense movie.
It's such a tense movie, and not always in the best way. I'll say
Yeah.
that. He's pretty much the only cast member, and that is always impressive when a movie is like, no, we have one dude. Like Moon with Sam Rockwell is basically just Sam Rockwell.
The Martian.
The Martian is basically just Sam Rockwell. No, it's
yeah.
Like I always think that is impressive, and like the movie started out good. They're like, yeah, he's alone, he's got to escape. There are other people in this movie. There's like a dream sequence where he sees other people, and then we get some voices, and then all of the security footage is still people acting. They never talk. It's just like people in the building that he's in on security footage.
He's never physically in a room with anyone else that you see, like
except for the dream sequence.
Except for dream sequence stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you barely get him communicating with the other people that he's coordinating this art heist with, and then he talks at people on the security footage.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is just him talking to himself if there is any dialogue. So reviews I saw kept referring to it as like a one-man show, basically, which is always impressive when that happens. Castaway, that's another one. That's
that's a good example.
Yeah.
It is wild. It's tense. There's so much.
I don't know. I don't fully know where to start. So like with the trailer, another thing that it highlights is like, the shots are just so fast that writing a recap of this would just be impossible to do, like every single shot. Not impossible, but I just didn't want to do it. Sure. But there's like a whole. It definitely hints that like the reality will be blurred, and so like you see there is later on in the movie like a dream sequence. The girl from the family portrait shows up outside the window with the dog. His whole drawing that he makes on the wall like takes on a whole it gets much more elaborate. But then also in the trailer he makes his own headdress basically, and that's one of the shots that you see where I just said like him basically losing his mind, because I don't know how else to explain, like he makes a headdress and he like it's a big furry thing, like it's made out of like blankets and stuff, and then I think pipe cleaners or something, so it's got like fuzzy antlers, and then it covers his whole body essentially. It just gets so chaotic.
Clearly in the trailer they're showing that this isn't just a dude stuck in a building. Like this is more.
They frame it like a survival movie,
especially with the synopsis.
Yes.
But then
especially with the synopsis, but then also so many shots going back to the thermostat. They also show that there's no water, that he doesn't have easy access to like the utilities that you would typically find in an apartment. Also, like we were comparing it to, or saying like other one-man shows, essentially a lot of those are also survival stories. 127 hours, like those. I think it's very interesting, just the concept of doing a survival story where you're not completely isolated and you are like in one of the most densely populated cities in the world. That concept is interesting. Don't worry, this movie doesn't take it in a cool direction.
Nope, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell what's real in this movie as it goes on. It's not really a spoiler yet, but it is just like, as you're watching, you're like, is this happening? What is happening?
Eventually.
Why is it happening?
Yeah. I feel like I got to the point where I was just accepting scenes being presented to me and not thinking about like, how did we get here?
Yeah, it's best to just leave the mind.
Which is not... I don't think that's what the movie was going for.
No, probably not.
It wants you to think...
It is German.
Yeah.
Like, it is an American movie, but the director is German. And
yeah.
Like, it's definitely art housey. Yeah. The cast, Willem Dafoe.
Did you know his name was Nemo?
Nope.
The character's name is Nemo.
They only ever call him number one.
Which I, like... this movie tries to do a lot.
So
It
you're
tries to
telling
make
me
you think.
this movie is Finding Nemo?
Yeah. It tries to make you think a lot about like stuff. I don't know how deep we want to get into it at this point, but I find it very superficial. Spoiler, I guess, for our review later, but like it doesn't. I saw that his name was Nemo, and I was like, oh, come on. Like,
Yeah.
that's a name that's always used with like nobody. This is supposed to be no one.
Which means
like,
it could be anyone.
exactly. So it's just yeah, no one ever says. I thought his name was Jack because he writes at one point, I guess he was just labeling the drawing that he did.
Yeah.
And there's a man that he names Jack or notices his name in the security footage.
No, I got that part because then he names Jasmine, who is played by Eliza Stiak.
Yeah. And then Gene Bervowitz
as the owner of
he's
the
just
penthouse that he's in.
He's only credited as the owner. We don't learn his name or anything.
Yeah. I don't know. This is such a weird, confusing movie that I would say if you don't want spoilers, stop listening. But also, it's like
it's not plot heavy.
No.
So it's hard to say when spoilers start. Basically, that's the entire plot. Is he
gets stuck.
An art heist goes wrong. He's in there. It becomes a survival story as he tries to MacGyver his way out of the situation. Not well.
So it starts, right? He's stealing the stuff. And then an alarm goes off in this luxury building, implying there's security. No one ever comes up. No one is like, oh, an alarm's going off in our building. We should go check that. Yeah. Which I think is probably like is this real type of thing? Because
I think that's very generous to
interpret I don't way. Because I think like throughout this movie, they're showing like he's in purgatory.
Yeah.
Right.
And
the whole thing
tones.
Is like, what he says in the trailer. He says twice in the movie of when I was a kid, my teacher asked me if my house is on fire, what 3 things would I save? And he's talking about like the art thing is what he would save.
His sketchbook.
But he never it seems like he never really went into art. Like professionally, he became an art thefter. Yeah, one who thefts, right? And so I feel like he's in purgatory, and he has to like basically finally accept art and like go into it before he can escape, which is what his drawing on the wall is. And I hate saying all of this because I am not someone who is like, let's overanalyze this film and get the meaning of it, right? The red door is red because it's fucking red. So saying any of this stuff that I'm saying he's in purgatory accepting all of that, I don't like thinking that.
You sound so deep. Sounds so good.
Thanks, babe.
You got this.
Where is your acoustic guitar?
Anyways, this is Wonderwall.
Yeah, I agree. I do also think like less so in the past several years, but I was definitely a film bro dude of like there's a reason why everything is in
cinema.
Movies. Yeah, cinema. Like just to me, film bro dude means like fully willing to buy into the pretentiousness of something and being like, I understand this, so therefore it is better. Like it takes itself so seriously, and that is the intention of the movies, to make you think about like purgatory and religion and art or whatever. Allegedly, I don't think this movie does it well. No,
when it is just him surviving and trying to escape. Yeah, I'm all about those parts
because something's
happening. He isn't good at trying to escape. He tries to break a window once and then just gives up.
That's what I was gonna say about you doing like being nice and saying that it's purgatory or whatever, and like maybe it's not real of the security existing. I don't think that's what the intention was. just because there are so many other things that happen in the movie where it's like, this is not based in logic. Well, like, there's
So when I say, like, the security isn't real, I mean none of it's real.
Like, the theft never happened?
Yeah, none of this is real. This is that, like, all the what we have seen is him entering purgatory, experiencing it.
Gotcha.
So, like, because he has access to the security footage for the building, which makes no sense. And so I think that's part of the purgatory of, like, you are seeing what is happening still. Like, you get, like, this, like, glimpse, and you're, like, close, but you can't get it. And that's what purgatory is.
Gotcha.
And so none of this is real. The security thing was just to mess with him because, like, the alarms were really loud and flashing lights. And so he, like, turned off all the lights and got rid of the sound, like, the alarms and stuff. So, like, that to me was just... That's what I meant by that.
I still think that it's like choosing things to happen because the plot needs to keep happening, or the movie needs to keep happening, and not necessarily basing it on like what would happen in real life. So like, he goes into the initial art heist. Number 3 says you have 7 minutes. There's already an alarm going off. He has some sort of override code that turns the alarm off, but only for a certain amount of time or whatever. And then the thing that gets him actually trapped in the apartment is he puts in a code trying to open the front door, and it's the wrong code, or something messes up or something. There's a glitch in the system, whatever. Doors slam shut. He can't get out. The big alarm starts going off. No one comes up to check on this luxury apartment to see, hey, I wonder what's happening.
Yep.
The utilities for the place are shut off because so it's kind of implied that like the owner is
he's off in Kazakhstan right now.
He's on an extended trip, so they knew that the apartment would be empty. To me, that read as like, oh, you leave for a long time, you're going to turn the utilities off. That makes sense.
Except you're that rich.
1, I don't think you would care about that at that point. 2, the plants still keep getting watered. So that's how he gets water throughout the movie.
Yeah, he's got this like plant area with automatic watering system.
Yeah.
But like all of like the sinks and the toilet and everything.
The toilet doesn't flush.
None of that plumbing has water.
Yeah. And then like there's a water feature that he can't drink, and it's saltwater fish. So like he can't.
Yeah.
Everything is working so hard against him for this to happen. The thermostat is broken. It's glitchy the entire time. There's not really like, maybe it was his fault, but also maybe it was glitchy in the first place because of whatever set the alarm off initially. And then the other thing that's like not, I don't think is true to real life, is like he never attempts to make any contact outside. He tries
the phone.
He tests the phone, sees the lines are down or whatever, doesn't try again. He does try with the walkie-talkie, but then that dies, and then he doesn't really attempt outside of that.
He only tries the walkie-talkie on his line to contact the people helping with the heist.
He
never switches to a different channel.
Yeah.
And he's like testing, like that never happens.
He never really pays attention like outside the apartment window. Like he hears helicopters going by, and he would look up at first of like, oh, is it them or whatever? And then you hear more helicopters going by, and he pays less and less attention to them as it goes on. But then the biggest thing that bothered me was, one, you pointed out that the windows are so big and he doesn't put anything on the windows like SOS or whatever. But then the movie, like the cinematography specifically highlights this fancy chess set that is all pyramids and like geometric shapes. And
like pure glass.
Yeah, they're and it highlights that they catch the light in a specific way. So, and he looks at them, and he like, you see him experiencing a thought about it, and I thought, oh, he's gonna flash it outside and like signal or try and get someone's attention. He doesn't do that, and he like goes and smashes the vase so that he can make goggles so that he can chisel at the skylight so that he can get out. And
and so I think pretentious understanding of this movie, it's not about escaping, it's about how artists hyperfixate on one thing for perfection. Good? We good with that? I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. This movie
Dude.
This movie should be about escaping. And it made me mad, and it should be about survival. Like there was some food in the house, and he seemed to not ration it out he was just like going through it.
He was just like, ooh, caviar and moldy crackers.
Yeah, the
Yum,
first
yum,
time
yum.
that he hears the automatic watering system turn on,
Mm-hmm.
he just drinks out of it and lays in it. Like, I know it's hot and he's tired and shit.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything to try to catch the water until like the next time.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, you don't know when this is coming back on. You should get something immediately.
I know. I was thinking that of like while he was laying there, like I get cooling down, and also like not everyone is gonna be a good MacGyver in a situation or whatever. But I was just like, what if these plants are watered once a week? Like,
Yeah. And I know not everyone is a good MacGyver. This guy is an art thief. He should be prepared for
this is
things.
such an organized crime.
Yeah, like this is
And
like
he doesn't have the skills to back that up at all.
yeah. If the temperatures are going up to 106 degrees, but there's still electricity, so the freezer still works, get some of that water, put it in the fridge, get the condensation, right? Like,
Yeah. I was like,
there's so much he could have done.
they show him in the trailer licking the ice and the condensation off of the freezer walls,
Mm-hmm.
and then at one point they show him with an ice cube and then like running it over his face trying to cool down and then sucking on it because he has limited water. But I
Yeah.
was also like, is it still making ice?
I know. If it's still making ice, then there's water.
Yeah.
Like, it's still cooked to the water.
I get if it's supposed to be purgatory and it's like that's the whole point, is it's an illusion, but also
Yeah.
like make rules for your universe and stick to them.
You've mentioned the toilet thing a couple times. Did that come into play at all?
Yep,
Oh,
it sure
yeah.
did. It sure did. It was so gross.
Thank
Well,
you so much for asking.
You can take a bucket, scoop the salt water out, put that in the basin, and
I
you can
know
still
when
flush the
after we
toilet.
watched it, I
Yeah.
said the way a toilet works is as long as it has water in the tank, you can flush it.
Right. He sees that there's water in the bowl. He like pees for the first time or something like that. He sees there's water in it. He tries to flush it and nothing happens, and it's just supposed to be like,
Yep.
that's
And I know this is gross what I'm about to say, but knowing that if there's water in the tank, you pee in the tank, you go number 2 in the bowl, and then voila, right?
Liquid.
Like it
2 for
works.
1.
Yeah.
2 for 1 special.
Yeah.
He doesn't do
He
that.
does not do that. He fills up the toilet bowl, and then it shows that he started using the massive tub. And so there's this giant overshot where he's sitting over the edge of the tub, and it's covered in poop. And then we get a shot that stays for 30 seconds maybe of just the pile of poop.
It's a long shot.
Yeah.
It's not like, and now we're about to like highlight.
Cinema!
Yeah, it's not like now we highlight the realities of being in this situation. It was just like in some extended sequence about like, I feel like there was another overview thing of like art and what it means and blah blah blah, and then it's just like poop. So
Mhm.
much of it.
All of it.
All of the poop.
Yeah. And he's using books as toilet paper. Yeah. And
That's
so
gotta be rough on your
On your tushy.
butt. Like, I've read a book.
Brag.
It's
Brag,
not.
bro.
I'm just saying. But
yeah,
no, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's weird. Like I just feel high class art thief should have some skills. Like I'm a modern day city boy, and if I know some basic things like how a toilet works, then maybe high class art thief Willem Dafoe should maybe know some things.
Yeah.
I want to go back to like trying to break the glass.
Mm-hmm.
When the door closes to like the patio, it is like it's an industrial door. Like it seals. It's probably bulletproof glass.
Yeah.
He takes one thing, hits the glass, nothing happens, and he gives up for the rest of it. Then eventually he finds a chisel. He doesn't try it on the big glass window. Instead, he builds this giant, like 20 to 30 feet in the air structure so that he can get to this giant light in the middle of the room, because it's a penthouse and it's huge, right? There's this light in the middle of the room that is like rectangular, boxy.
It's a big skylight.
Yeah. And instead he uses the chisel to chisel away at the cement holding the glass piece.
He doesn't go straight for the glass. He goes for the cement around the glass, which we were watching that and we were also like, why?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
He didn't try the glass though.
Okay, first you want to try.
You should
Yeah.
try.
You want to try, but
Don't give up, Willem. You gotta try.
They should have in the movie "Don't Give Up, Willem."
this is about a movie about quitters. No, I was just thinking like if it's nice and fancy and if it's industrial grade skylight, then it would be. Oh, I don't want to talk out of my ass on a podcast.
Do it.
It's there forever.
I want to say that it wouldn't be completely glass. That there would have like some plastic.
Sure.
Yeah,
in it,
but try
if I
it.
remember
You
right.
know.
Versus concrete.
Yeah, of course you want to try it.
But then like it's concrete that he's
Yeah.
chiseling away.
This is also after he tried to chisel through the wooden door, and then he finds out that there's like
A metal.
He hits one. I'm sure chiseling is difficult.
Yes.
He like hits one little speck of there's metal, like there's a metal sheet inside of this door, and then it's just wood ornate around it, and then he just goes like no,
Yeah.
and then he doesn't keep trying.
Yeah.
I would argue that concrete is easier to chisel than a possible plastic glass mixture.
Maybe.
But what about the window that he originally came out of? What if he tried that glass?
Just glass. And I know bulletproof, right?
Yeah.
Sure. It's tough glass.
It's gonna be thick.
It still breaks.
You've got time.
if you have a chisel, right? And it's also just like
This is the man who saw a toilet and said, well, guess I gotta
it's
poop in the tub.
broken. Yeah.
it's just I think they made him a little too dumb.
Or just like they didn't think about. I guess maybe it just wasn't made by people with survival instincts,
Yeah. Those Germans.
which I don't think rough. I don't think I have super strong survival instincts, but I do have a little thing I call logic and critical thinking, and like just.
I mean, I can't speak for logic, but the Germans have critical thinking.
Wow.
It's there forever.
Now I feel better about mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just yeah. So like that's all of the complaints I
About
guess
like the realities
about
of
the
world.
realities.
Let's talk about the theology of this movie, or the mindset.
He
First,
goes insane so fast.
very quickly, which like sure, but I also feel like this movie came out after a pandemic happened where a lot of people were inside their own homes. How long did it take you to lose your mind? I don't know, but like,
Couple hours?
yeah.
Oh, but that is another thing.
Time is unclear.
Time is unclear.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe it's winter. It's definitely winter for part of it because at one point it starts snowing
snows.
outside.
Which is also, you see that happen when it's like, at what point is he fully based in reality? Like maybe the snow isn't even part of it, because like the girl with the dog is standing outside in the snow.
Yeah.
So it's like, is any of that there? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But
He
yeah,
sees fireworks, so I guess like we can assume that is
I assumed that
New
it.
Year's?
Yeah, New Year's Eve
if
happened.
there's snow.
Yeah.
But if it was supposed to be like 4th of July fireworks, then
Yeah.
how long was this dude here?
Reviews that I saw said like weeks pass,
Weeks.
which I don't. Maybe
That was a lot of poop for weeks.
he was very regular.
But he wasn't eating.
Don't think about it.
No, don't think about this movie. But
Let's
now
keep thinking about this movie.
let's keep thinking about this movie, and you know,
My bullet point says it's about art ?
is it?
So
Yeah, I guess
it thinks it is. The first thing I want to talk about is that monologue that he repeats. So the trailer does it, and then the opening of the movie is a narration of him saying the thing about the teacher, and then the movie ends with that narration repeated.
It's a different one though.
And then things are added onto it, where then you see that he is leaving a note to the owner of the apartment, and he says like, I destroyed most of your home, I saved 3 objects for you,
Yeah.
etc., etc.
What I find interesting about that monologue is that not only is more added at the end when he does it again, but it is a different recording. Like
Yes.
they had him record it twice,
Yeah.
which I guess is supposed to be like he's different now.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was a weird.
Yeah. So like the thing that stuck out to me is when he says, "Cats die, music fades, but art is for keeps." I just heard that line and I was like, yeah, all right, that's pretty good. But then it shows up so many other times. I was just like, man, this guy wrote this and was like, that's great. That's so good.
That's the line.
Where's my guitar? Like,
today is gonna be the day.
Art is for keeps. And it's just also no. Art is like
art deteriorates.
We've
lost so much art.
Yeah.
Thanks, German.
He talks about
This is their apology.
yeah.
We are very sorry. Okay.
What accent was that?
No, it came out all wrong. It
Yeah.
came out all wrong. That's weird. Hold on. I gotta find it. I'm gonna find it. Found it.
Just for you?
Just for me.
Okay.
In your pocket.
He says like, I had an AC/DC album. I know vinyl's making a comeback, but that doesn't last super well. Like art,
Yeah, I don't.
there's art restoration is a whole.
I
job
actually have a
market.
problem with music fades because like tons of folklore has been
Yeah.
passed down through music
Isn't it like
and folk songs that like were never written for just so many years.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even mean like thousands of years ago. I'm talking in the 1900s.
Mhm.
Tons of folk music was just not written down, and it was just like played throughout like the country
yeah.
of little traveling groups who would play their songs, and the other people would be like, I like that, I'm gonna do that now with my own variation.
Right.
Music does not fade. It just
It
evolves,
changes.
it expands,
Yeah.
and
There's
cats do die though.
I think it's we agree there. I think it's House of the Rising Sun or something, or Paint It Black. It's one of those songs. I always mix those two up in my head, but one of them is like the original lyrics of it. They don't actually know where they came from, and it's been adapted over time and modernized. And then
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure it's House of the Rising Sun. And then there's a specific version that got famous. There's so many fireworks happening above us. I assume.
Oh,
they're
there was a
fireworks.
Reds game.
That'll do it.
We
Oh.
lost. But
Wait, what?
we lost the Reds game, but
Then why are they doing the fireworks?
Because we played.
Nope. I don't.
We
It's-
did it.
at least with Disney, if you plan fireworks, you either set them off. No, you have to set them off. You can't, it's not like, oh, putting this back in the storage. Like the way that it's set up, you have to let them rip.
Well, so they do fireworks at every Friday home game.
Yeah.
They don't typically do them
Wednesday at 9.
Wednesday at 9 unless they win.
I just moved here in February.
Hmm?
I don't know.
I'm just letting you know.
Oh, okay.
And our viewers it now. Because this is staying. We don't really cut things out of our podcast.
This is forever.
This is forever. Art
That's right.
is for keeps.
The Reds are for keeps.
Podcast is art.
Yeah. Wow, we can end it there.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Please tell me this movie ended like.
Oh, this movie ended.
Oh boy.
I guess it ended. I don't know.
But like the Spider-Man movie where Aunt May comes in, like, what the? But with the owner of the house
No.
just walks in.
No, I
No.
wish. He does escape through the skylight.
Mm.
That's how it ends.
Yeah.
We see the owner in pictures in the dream sequence, and then a weird scene where he's doing something where Willem Dafoe is in the bathroom. He puts a needle into some alcohol, and then he starts putting it next to his teeth.
I don't know if
There's-
he's trying to brush his teeth or like scrape the plaque off or something, but it just
There's no explanation. And then he sees the owner behind him, and the owner slams Willem Dafoe's face down onto the counter. And then the owner wasn't really there. But that's what we see.
yeah.
And I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I don't get it. In the trailer, him walking through the green lit hallway. Bless you, Bryce.
I ate cheesy crackers before I came here.
And they're just now coming back.
They've been back. It's just now I can't hold it back.
I don't know.
Willem Dafoe, greenlit hallway. He finds a secret hidden door in a wardrobe, and he meets the White Witch of Narnia. No.
She gives him Turkish delight. And he goes,
was there?
"What is this? I've always wondered."
It's tasty. Hidden doorway with
Teeny tiny hallway.
a teeny tiny hallway. It's like super thin.
Like he kind of goes in sideways
Yeah,
to walk
he
through
finds at the end of the hallway the missing painting that he wasn't able to find
'Cause he
during the
was
heist.
specifically looking for 3 of them and then didn't find the one.
Yeah.
It wasn't where they said it was.
And then he looks over to the right and he goes, "Oh my god!" And he like freaks out and he goes back down the hallway.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "What?" And he goes back down the hallway and he looks, and we see on this table
A body.
a body, and it looks like the owner. And so for a second you're like, "Oh,
Not just a body. It's a body on an altar,
Yeah.
essentially, wrapped in a shroud with, like, covered except for the face. And then there's a book on the body. And then there's also some neon lettering on the wall that I forget what it spells out.
I don't know." It kind of felt like chapters titles to me.
Yeah.
When the neon lights came on.
Yeah.
So you're like, "Oh, the owner is dead. He's never coming back."
I thought
That's why people aren't checking.
I thought that would explain things of like, oh, he didn't go on this trip. He died in some sort of ritualized way as some sort of art statement. It's like, got it. Cool. Makes sense.
We gave the movie too much credit.
It's a rubber body.
It's fake. It's a fake rubber body. And
I don't know if the owner made that book or if that is, I don't know what that book is.
I have no idea what the book is. I have no idea why the body was there.
The book is some sort of religious something or other, and it has this whole thing about like you find friendship through opposition was a phrase that it had in it, and it was supposed to be very like heaven and hell,
Yeah.
duality, religious vagueness, etc. And he reads it.
Yeah. And he gets like real into it and
Yeah.
starts drawing things.
He takes the painting that
he
he
makes
was,
an altar himself.
yeah, he takes the painting that he was looking for out of that room. He takes the book out of that room, and then he just never goes back there.
Yeah.
It never comes up again.
He goes kind of crazy.
Yeah, he goes a little crazy. I also want to think about like I thought there was an implication that Willem Dafoe was involved in the art world to some extent, besides just being theft. Of like I thought maybe he knew this guy, and he targeted this specific guy, or like he had a personal reason to target
I didn't
him.
think it was personal. I thought it was just like this guy was a mark. And so like the dream
Yeah.
sequence where he's at like some art gallery thing,
Mhm.
I thought was just like he was going undercover to do some, scouting.
The dream sequence kind of acts as like a flashback, but then with
Maybe.
but because it has a lot of imagery that was in the apartment. But there are a couple things that he says. So like the whole sketchbook monologue, art is for keeps thing implies that like he's always had some interest in art. He sketches throughout the whole thing, and then he obviously knows who the owner is. Like he recognizes him. You would have some sort of information about your mark. I get that. That makes sense. But then there's some sort of medal that he pulls out where he's like, I have the blah 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 now.
Yeah.
Like it's like a, I don't know, it seemed like a big deal, but not a big deal that I recognize. It's not like he's like, I have the Oscar now or something, but like a big art prize. So I was like, oh, he knows what that is.
Mhm.
He's aware of like this guy's prestige.
Yeah.
But then there's also a weird thing where the painting that is in the place where he thought the self-portrait would be, then it's just a bunch of people having sex, and then like the owner
Is
is
in the middle.
in the middle of it, and then there's like a blotchy thing covering one specific figure's face, and Willem Dafoe looks at it and he's like, you son of a, and so it's like supposed to be like that was his, or he thinks that he is in the painting. And I also don't get what that means, but just the way that they frame him looking at the different shots around, or like the different pieces of art around the place, and then he draws like the devil horns and stuff on the guy and the family portrait and stuff. It still felt pretty personal. So I thought, again, maybe this is also giving the movie too much credit.
I think it is.
But the opposition through friendship thing,
yeah,
I thought that he, like, it was implied or something that Willem Dafoe was an artist. He is now a starving artist, and essentially in hell. He's in the lower areas of the art world, and then the owner is in heaven, because he is elevated in the art world and celebrated. And then maybe he doesn't fully deserve his recognition, and Willem Dafoe does for some reason. So that was like the friendship in opposition, or like they kind of talk about like needing a balance between heaven and hell, or like darkness and lightness being together. But it's never fully developed.
Now this movie, one, we are tired because it's late and we recorded a podcast before it.
Yeah.
But this is kind of an exhausting movie. I feel like
There was a part
talking about it is just like.
there was a part watching it where I was like, I'm gonna take a shower later, and I'm looking forward to that.
So when he's finally about to make his like final descent and escape,
Yeah.
he is like slowly walking, because we don't even need to touch on it that much. At this point, he broke his leg throughout at some point in the movie.
He fell off of he makes this whole structure
Yep.
out of all of the furniture so that he can reach the skylight. He falls off of it at one point and breaks his leg.
Yeah, so he's just very slow to walk.
Another minor thing, the way that they framed that was also like, look at this piece of modern art.
Yes.
And it, like, I thought that was also kind of going into the what is art territory, but then again, not fully developing that. I thought, like you did, the owner would come up in some way, and that I thought he was going to walk in and then like pass off this thing as art, and like fully ignoring all of the suffering that this guy had to do to escape it or whatever. And it was going to be some
art is
statement.
suffering.
It was going to be some statement about the institution of art.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, he breaks his leg.
Yeah. And as he's making his final descent and like working his way there, he keeps repeating, "I'm going to heaven on the hillside. I'm
Like that.
going to heaven on the hillside." Like over and over.
That's your best Dafoe. When we watched it, we both heard "I'm going to heaven on the hell side,"
Yep.
which I thought was trying again to tie into that light and darkness thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we turned on the captions and he's just saying hillside. Mm-hmm. So then it was like, oh, this is less interesting now.
Yeah. But also, he's doing it like a song.
He's chanting.
Right? Music fades. What happened to music fades?
This is a chant. It's
What
not.
happens to music? Music fades? Music fades. Music fades.
Well, it has to fade out for the next song to come in.
Oh, speaking of the next song that comes in, yeah, thanks, Bryce. That's really great. That's really great.
I forgot.
That's really great. This whole movie is like one weird, intense mind, right? Like you're just like, what is happening? This entire movie. It's really serious. It takes itself very seriously.
Yeah.
And then the credits roll, and it plays "Pyramid Song" by Radiohead
As the credits song.
as the credit song. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that song. Take a listen after.
Yeah.
Take a listen after. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this really intense, long movie, Willem Dafoe, and then Pyramid Song, Radiohead. We can't play it now, Bryce.
Just the fact that any Radiohead song was the credits, I feel like also goes into the Wonderwall acoustic guitar dude.
Yes. Honestly, yes.
Yeah.
Like, and
Like
I'm not against Radiohead.
No.
I see the merits of Radiohead.
They're good.
But it tonally took me completely out of this movie.
He went, art is for keeps, and then he walks out of the skylight, and then it's just,
Yeah, and then after that song is over, Willem Dafoe's voice comes back on, and he has this. The chanting comes back, and then he has this weird little monologue. I don't remember what he says, but it was just like, what is happening? But it was just like, why Radiohead. This whole serious movie, there has been like a pretty like good score, or like score's right.
Yeah, it was the score, but it was like it's not like songs in the way that like you think of with Radiohead.
No, it was composed, like it was a composition.
It's very
score.
emotional.
Yeah.
Interstitial isn't the right word, but like
it was like an orchestral score that they made for this movie.
It highlights the tone and like the descent into madness, basically.
Yeah. The only song that does play throughout the movie, we should touch on this, is Macarena. When the fridge is open for longer than 20 seconds, the house will play Macarena to remind you to close the door.
That is the most that we learn about the owner, is that he has a problem with leaving the freezer door open. So to the point that he needs to have his fridge play the Macarena for him to close it.
So if they're going to play a song during the credits,
why isn't it the Macarena?
Because it's a movie where it's like, what's real? You're going and saying, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Play the Macarena for the credits.
No, that makes sense.
Right?
It's what the people want.
Like, he escapes. He goes, I'm going to heaven on the hillside. And then it goes, dun, 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 dun. Macarena.
Right.
Right? Like, why Radiohead?
If you were going to make a tonal shift, why not commit to the bit and make it a thing that your audience has already bought into?
Yeah. Like, if they did Macarena, for the credits, like, they end it and then it's Macarena, I would have been like, what the hell's happening?
Yeah.
Right? They ended it, went to Radiohead. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
Right?
It went from, like, being interesting to finding out that his name is Nemo and going, oh, come on.
Yeah.
That's how it was with Breitbart.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
It's a horror movie of if Superman went bad.
Oh!
Like, as a kid.
Right, yeah.
And it
Elizabeth
was,
Banks, right?
It was very impressive. Like, it
It's a
was
James Gunn
interesting. Yeah. It was interesting. And then, at the end, they kind of do Alex Jones. Oh, these super kids are causing problems. And it sets up a really interesting world. And then you get hit with Bad Guy by Billie Eilish. For the credits, I was like, is this Bad Guy?
That's a good song, but not for that.
Yeah.
No, because like it was like super heavy. The family, spoiler alert, people die very gruesomely.
R.I.P.
And then it just
Wow. Weird. Yeah, anyway, go listen to
The Macarena.
A Pyramid Song by Radiohead if you don't know the song.
That too.
Yeah. Let's continue.
Okay. I just go into production facts after this, so I don't know if there's any more, like, we want to talk about weird stuff that happened in the movie.
No.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm so exhausted talking about this movie. Like, it is...
Yeah. We watched this movie, let out, like, a collective groan, and then put on our new go-to show, Ugliest Houses in America.
Hosted by Retta.
Yeah, because we needed something light.
And Star Trek Deep Space Nine, unfortunately, not a light show.
Sometimes it gets dark. Anyway.
Production facts.
It was released March 17th, 2023. Runtime of 1 hour, 45 minutes, and it's rated R. I will touch on this again. Or another movie thing. It's rated R partially for nudity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see any significant nudity. No.
You don't see Willem Dafoe's massive penis. And if you don't know that story, apparently Willem Dafoe
allegedly
has a distractingly large penis.
Yeah.
They'd use a body double in some movie. Right?
Because his penis was too large. He was like, I'll do nudity.
Mm-hmm. And then they said, no, thank you.
It's too much, Willem.
Put it away. Anyway, you don't... sorry, this is going to be a longer point. But he's flipping through channels on the TV.
Sorry.
It's just like his...
Just a longer point, just like Willem Dafoe's penis.
Can't relate.
So he's flipping through the TV. The TV's also broken for whatever reason, so the only channel that works is the security cameras channel. But while he's flipping through things, it briefly shows porn. Just like a little unnecessary. You could have just showed that the TV wasn't working. And then there are a lot of paintings of like There's the orgy self-portrait painting, or not self-portrait, but whatever.
Yep.
And then there's one that they do a lot of close-ups on of like a faceless naked woman, and then he also fixates on Jasmine, who works there, and like, yeah, they're not going to talk during this movie because that's the whole point of the movie, is that he's isolated, but it just really uses women as set dressing in a way that like the art world for sure does, but it again doesn't consider art enough, or like doesn't have enough of a hot take about art in order to make any other statement about this. Yeah. It's just like they're just briefly there, and Jasmine shows up in a dream sequence, or like she's at that thing with the owner, and then she also shows up in a different hallucination dream sequence that he has, where I guess basically he's just horny.
Yeah.
And he turns around and she's in the apartment, and she goes over to him, and she doesn't touch him the entire time, but she like, her face gets really close to him, her hands get really close to his chest, and then she walks away, and then you don't see her there. But when she first showed up, I was like, I swear to God, if this woman gets naked in front of this man, this is gonna be my least favorite movie that we have watched so far. And it didn't happen, but close.
And I think it's because he didn't know what she looked like naked, and like her not touching him was because he didn't know what it would feel like.
Yeah.
And so that was that part. But if he had ever seen her naked on a security cam, you bet your ass that she would have shown her ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
This movie.
I'm glad she didn't get naked at work.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What did the critics and audience review?
So, Rotten Tomatoes, 63% with a 40% audience score.
Okay.
Pretty significant gap between there, but not overly positive either way. 53 out of 100 on Metacritic. And then I normally also look at Cinema Score too. Mm-hmm. This is not on Cinema Score, and there's also like not as nearly as much press about this movie as there was with other ones, partially because it's an international release and then released in America, so I get that. But anyway, the critic consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is Inside might be a one-note drama that verges on an endurance test, but it does have Willem Dafoe going for it, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was a good review, or an interesting review on RogerEbert.com. It gave it 2 out of 4. It said, Inside is made with some evident degree of skill and craft. The apartment is a wonder of production design, but they're in service of a story nowhere near as profound or audacious as it believes itself to be. The film has its moments, and Dafoe certainly gives it his all, but there's a hollowness that ends up rendering the whole thing fairly forgettable. The cinematic equivalent of buying a piece of art you buy only because it goes well with the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's... They tried, huh?
It felt very style over substance to me, of like, yeah, the apartment does look great. Willem Dafoe does do a good job in like a one-man show environment, and then the story just doesn't give him anything to do, and no apparent, like, if you're supposed to be thinking about art and religion and the meaning of life or purgatory or whatever, then it doesn't show any of that in a significant way.
Yeah. Was it a successful movie?
I have no idea.
Great.
So the budget for this movie, I just cannot find it online. Like, I looked at different things like the numbers and Box Office Mojo and whatever, and the budget section, it just said NA. So
it didn't have one.
Yeah.
They just, they made it for free. Yeah.
So box office numbers, it earned $1,171,023 worldwide.
Great, so it wasn't a success.
Yeah, so $897,190 of that is from the U.S., and then the rest is international, which I thought was interesting that it still made the most money in the U.S., even though it premiered at like a couple German festivals, and like it seemed like it made a decent run in Europe festival-wise, but I guess not financially. This is the feature directorial debut from Vasilis Katsoupis.
Mm-hmm. That makes me think maybe he's not German. That's not really a German.
No, he's Greek.
He's Greek.
I'm pretty sure. But
that sounds like a Greek name.
Because there were also...
But the Germans helped with this.
Yes.
There's a Hans in there somewhere.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was shot in. I know it was shot in Europe on like a soundstage.
Yeah.
And then there were also things in the credits that was saying like special thanks to like various Greek film funding things and also a German film funding thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, his only other credit on IMDb, besides a 2023 appearance as himself, is a 2016 documentary, My Friend Larry Gus. The film Inside was shot in chronological order, which the director said was very similar to shooting a documentary. I feel like he shot it that way, one, because Willem Dafoe gets skinnier as it goes on, so it's just going to be easier to do that, but also, I just don't think he thought about doing it any other way. If that's his only background, then he's gonna...
Yeah, and also at some point the house floods.
The house
floods.
floods.
You have to do everything before the flood.
Yeah, and then...
That's fine. You're all good. For audio viewers, Bryce's phone just went off. It's all good.
That noise alarmed me.
It's a cello.
Yeah. The most alarming instrument. Yeah, also because it's just the one location, I feel like it is easier to do things in chronological order.
Yeah. But also, I would have, any scene that took place in the kitchen, I would have done that. Any scene that took place in a room, I would have done that.
Yeah.
There's no way I would have done this chronological. Like, that is...
Yeah.
All right.
So, after reading these various reviews, I came up with this question, which is, what if this movie was completely different?
Great question.
So...
Then I think Bo Burnham.
Yeah. Well, so, also from that same review from the Roger Ebert website, the reviewer was saying, while watching Inside and finding it to not work, I found myself thinking of 3 distinctly different directors who could have done wonders with the material. For example, I see Jerry Lewis transforming it into a potentially brilliant piece of sustaining solo slapstick as he reduces the place to shambles while struggling to get free. On the other hand, I can also see the story as a sort of existential art house, no pun intended, horror film from the likes of Michael Haneke? Sure. Short of what might result if he was inexplicably hired to direct the third escape room film. Finally, I would have loved to see this concept in the hands of the late great Larry Cohen, who was famous for films with audacious premises like this and could have properly navigated the moves into sociological commentary about the value, literal and metaphorical, of art. So my question is there... Well, this review also says that, like, Willem Dafoe is very good in this movie, but it's not a super surprising performance from him because he's kind of known for being like a weird guy.
Mm-hmm.
So when he descends into madness, you're like, of course Willem Dafoe is going to descend into madness.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, is there anyone you'd rather see direct this and do it in a more substantial way? And would you still want Willem Dafoe to be in it? Because the example that this guy gave was, what if you have someone who is more known for being like a laid back performer, and then it's more surprising when they get so erratic. The example that he gave was George Clooney. Like, if it was set up as an Ocean's 11 film, things go wrong, and then you're watching the psychological implications of that.
Yeah, I get that. I don't see George Clooney doing that because I have seen George Clooney be kind of crazy.
The Men Who Stare at Ghosts.
Yeah. And it's a very different style of crazy that I feel like you get with George Clooney. I don't know. I get like Willem Dafoe is like a weird dude, and so like this isn't like that big of a thing for him. He, for a lot of this, because he gets skinnier and his body gets kind of decrepit. Yeah. He has the body for this.
Yeah.
And I'm not like body shaming, but he just kind of he's able to like move and look in ways that not every actor can because their bodies just look different.
He's very aware of like how to manipulate his body, and he's also a very unique looking person.
Yes, and I think that really helps with this kind of movie.
Yes.
If I would want anyone else to direct this movie, it'd probably be John Hughes.
Coming of age film. Still Willem Dafoe.
Margarita.
Now, what about Nick Cage
Directing?
No, in the role. Well, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see Nick Cage doing it, but it's also another actor who's like, this makes sense for Nick Cage.
I think it depends on whether or like how seriously this new version of the movie wants to take itself. Because like Nick Cage, obviously big fan of his work. He's also a goofy guy, but like I really love the movie Moonstruck. And he's in that, and it's so funny to me when he also loses his mind, but that's very early on in the intro of his character, and he's just standing there going, I lost my hand, I lost my wife. And you're like, take it down a notch, man.
I was thinking of him towards the end of The Color from Outer Space. Like, the crazy that he went was just... it was rational, but it was just out of place.
No, yeah, I think he could do this role.
Yeah.
I just like to see him in that.
I think if Nick Cage had been in this movie, it would have, one, further proven that this is a great year for Nick Cage.
Yeah.
But two, I think people would have been like, what is Nick Cage doing? Why is this a Nick Cage movie?
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe being in this, it's not a Willem Dafoe movie. But Nick Cage being in this?
This should be a director's name movie.
Yeah.
Like...
A little hint at what our movie we discuss next week is, what if Kenneth Branagh directed and starred?
I mean, the main criticism from this reviewer was just like, it's not distinct enough for this type of, like, the themes that it wants to talk about. This director's style is not distinct enough to cover that. I don't know if Kenneth Branagh also has a distinct enough style, because...
Well, you want a distinct style.
Yeah.
And a director that would be challenged to make this, Michael Bay. That fireworks sequence, 5 minutes now.
If Michael Bay made this movie, it would be a short film, because he would have some sort of explosive device that he walked in with, and he'd just be like, I'm getting out of this place. I'm gonna get lunch after this.
If Michael Bay had directed this film, that would have been a dead body.
Yeah, you're right. And someone would have gotten naked.
Yeah. And the
full frontal.
He would have had to rescue like the owner's daughter or something in some
The refrigerator actually seems Macarena because it's a transformer.
Hello, Willem.
Yeah.
Sam Owicki. I mean, Willem Dafoe.
The Tesseract.
A director that I thought of for this was Jonathan Demme, who I don't believe is alive anymore. He died in 2017. But he directed Philadelphia, and let me go back to his filmography. Silence of the Lambs is his other big thing. Manchurian Candidate. He has a more distinct visual style to me, where like he has this whole thing in Philadelphia and Silence of the Lambs especially, of like actors will speak directly to the camera and it will be in an extreme close-up, and it is very good. He uses it in like several different ways, but it's a really compelling way of like showing or fully highlighting the emotions of a character, and I feel like that would help with this.
Yeah. I mean, if the movie was different, then maybe it would be different.
If the movie was different and he was alive, then you know.
Why did you take him from us, God?
It's because he was in purgatory and now he's ascended. And he's gone to heaven on the hillside.
I'm going to heaven on the hillside. Well, shall we rate this movie? Shall we give it our rating? Our rating system is out of 4 with 5 options. 0 out of 4 is no, stop. 1 out of 4 is that was a movie. 2 out of 4 is that's a well-made movie. 3 out of 4 is enjoyable and kind of technically good. 4 is Oscar worthy. Now, I'm changing mine.
I was also going to change mine.
To a 4 out of 4, baby! No.
Our current ratings, both of us are at 2 out of 4.
I'm going to 1.
I was also going to 1.
Because yes, the cinematography and acting were good.
Willem Dafoe is the best and probably only good part of this movie.
But it mostly was a movie. And if it is a movie that is exhausting to talk about, It does not deserve a 1 out of 4. Now, I can see that there was talent by the people that made this movie. So that's not a 0 out of 4. They shouldn't stop making movies. They should just learn how to make movies.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully they learn some things with this one.
I also want to give it 1 out of 4. It's just like, I feel like even if or other 2 out of 4 movies that we've talked about, then there's always something that we can point to of like, I liked this part, or like 2 or 3 things maybe. It's just Willem Dafoe, and I would see him in a one-man thing in any other thing, and he tried really hard with this, and that comes across. And there's also like some visual things that are interesting, and like the technical aspects of it are pretty good, so that's why I was at 2 out of 4. I think I also put it at 2 out of 4 at first, because I was like, I was talking about this the other day of like, I gave We Have a Ghost 3 out of 4. It feels weird to give this movie that like is obviously at a technically higher standpoint like a lower score, but it's just, it's not like I didn't like it. I feel like there's valid complaints with this.
I stand by the fact that We Have a Ghost is a good, solid movie, and that this one isn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can stop talking about that movie. We always talk about other movies that we've watched recently. Kind of run out of things that we've watched recently, but just in the past few months. Another great movie that makes you feel really trapped, and it's kind of like a mind F movie of like, what is going on? Speed Racer!
Oh, I thought you were going to say Moon.
No. No.
Okay.
Because Moon is great. And I don't want to even remotely...
You don't want to associate it?
You can pick up your phone, Bryce. No?
No, okay. I don't need it.
All right.
It's just fully unplugged.
The Speed Racer movie is so bad. I wanted to like it so much. I remember enjoying it as a kid when I watched it. If you don't know, Speed Racer. Why am I talking this way? Speed Racer. Is made by the Wachowskis.
Oh, okay.
Who made The Matrix.
Yeah, I remember this.
And then the sequels to The Matrix that aren't good.
It's there forever.
Bryce, have you seen Matrix 2 and 3?
I've seen Matrix 1 and 3.
Okay.
And I thought 3 was decent.
Now, it's been a while since I've watched them.
I was a child. That was on VHS.
But I believe 3 is the one with the 5+ minute cave.
No, that's 2.
That's 2?
That's 2.
Okay. Great.
I have not seen 2.
There is a 5+ minute cave dance orgy scene.
Cave rave.
Yeah. Because it's, early 2000s, 90s when EDM raves were like
big.
They were playing Contagious.
Yeah.
Everyone was having it.
Bad. 2 and 3, bad. 4, which came out in the last few years, terrible.
I haven't seen it.
There's a trend of these classic movies getting like their 4th or 5th movie and no one caring or liking about them.
Yeah.
I feel like people cared a lot with the hype for The Matrix before when it came out, and then
it was bad.
Crickets.
Like Indiana Jones is my favorite intellectual property ever, and I still haven't even seen the new one that came out.
Same.
Yeah, because the name's Dial of Destiny. Let's try again.
Give it another pass.
Yeah. So I believe the only like Wachowski movies that I've seen are The Matrix and Speed Racer. So far, the original Matrix is the only good movie of theirs that I've seen. You'll look it up. Let me talk about Speed Racer. They tried to do a lot of things where their budget and technology at the time, it did not work out. Too much special effects and green screen. So you know how like people talk about the prequels?
Oh, Bound. I like Bound.
I haven't seen Bound. Apparently they did Cloud Atlas.
Yeah.
So the Star Wars prequels, people talk about the Star Wars prequels of like how a nightmare that was to film because it was all on green screen, blue screen studios. And then they talk about how like all of like the effects just look terrible now. Going back, most of it doesn't look great, but some of it is like, okay, no, I mean that's fine. It looks pretty good. It doesn't look like it's stylized to overcorrect bad or like not as the technology not being there, right? This movie, which came out after the prequels, is so bad. It's like, what is Toontown? What is the that weird show?
The like with everyone is like a polygon.
Yeah. No, not Toon. No. The puppet TV show, the kids show.
Lazy Town.
Lazy Town. Right? It's like if they lived in a world of Lazy Town that was CGI, and then they stylized it more because it obviously didn't look right that people lived there.
Yeah.
Right? And then also they were trying to make it look in combination of like a comic and the old cartoon that it was, you know, obviously a remake of, and so like a lot of things were like over cartoonized and all of this, but
I've seen the cartoon.
Yeah. It was just weird and not a good movie, and the acting was good and the cast was impressive, and they gave it their all, but it was just like, it was a tough watch.
Yeah,
the plot was thin. So that's my recent movie that is basically paralleled with Willem Dafoe, Inside.
I have not seen that, so I'll just talk about Bound because I have seen that recently. Bound is good. That's my whole take.
Great.
Yeah. Just it's also a tense movie, but it's just good. That's it.
Nothing else to say, man.
Nope.
It's just good.
Yeah, there's like, you know, lesbians framing a man for a crime, and then
Well, I don't want any of that woke bullshit.
yeah, that woke 1996 stuff.
God, why are movies so political these days?
It's a good movie. Do you have any movies you've seen recently, Bryce, you want to talk about?
That aren't from 2023.
Yeah.
So Willy's Wonderland, after it gets like halfway through, it realizes, oh, we're a horror movie.
Well,
and
that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for watching and listening. You can follow us on Instagram. If you want bonus content and content earlier than that you can find everywhere else, follow our Patreon. It's real cheap, and you get some good quality
I thought you were just going to say, it's real.
It is real.
Yeah.
I promise. It's there.
It is
You
grounded
can go.
in reality.
You can look. It's right there. If you're not watching this on Patreon, theoretically, the Patreon link is in this bio, along with the Instagram bio.
Yep.
But thank you again for watching. If you leave questions and comments, we will answer that on our Virtual House Sessions podcast. That's a lot of fun to do. We can answer community questions. We just kind of hang out. We talk about things. We play little games.
That's a monthly podcast right now. So there is a bit of a delay for when you leave a comment, and then when we will get to it. But we will.
Yeah. Next week should, theoretically, if everything goes to plan, be our Halloween episode. So get ready for some spookiness.
We don't want to jump scare anyone.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see you next week. Tequila?
Yeah. My brain went to that instead of Macarena.
Yeah.